It is not necessary, but do dislike or like the video. The name of this movie is The Basketball Diaries. At the start of the film's story, we are introduced to a young boy whose name was Jim. The teacher is punishing him very badly in the class. Jim, who was a naughty boy, tells his teacher that you don't even know how to hit. I had just started enjoying. His teacher gets angry at the point. He says if you want, we can start it tomorrow. In the meantime, the class was over. Jim now comes out of the class with his 3 friends. His friends were as naughty as him. They used to smoke cigarettes. Although they were very young, they were very naughty, and did not even think before doing any work that what are they doing? Is this work wrong or right? Even they put thinner on the tissue and smelled it. They believed that it was intoxicating. But there was a special thing in Jim. He used to play basketball very well. One day, they have a match in which Jim plays the basketball match very well, and also wins. But during the match, Jim's other friend goes to the locker room and steals the watches, valuables, and money of the other team's players. When Jim comes out with his friends after winning the match, then the players of the other team were standing in front of them, who was saying that you have stolen our valuables, give it back to us. But Jim and his friend were not ready to believe this. That's why they start fighting with the team. Both were hitting each other. After which we see, Jim goes to the hospital to meet one of his friends who had blood cancer. When Jim's friend was 6 years old, since he had a very good friendship with him, Jim's friend also knew that he was a very good basketball player. But 2 years ago, Jim's friend found out that he was sick. Jim hoped for his friend to recover because he considered him his closest in the world. Jim takes him out for a walk, but he does not like it at all. That's why Jim comes back to his house after leaving the hospital. Jim spent most of his time with 3 friends from school. He had another skill along with basketball, that was his writing. Whenever Jim had a thought in his mind or a poem, he used to write them in his diary. On the other hand, Jim's friend who was sick in the hospital, he also dies after a few days. When Jim goes to see him, who was in a very bad condition, he had turned into a skeleton due to his illness. Jim cries a lot seeing his condition. After his death, he does not understand what to do in his life now. When Jim was returning after watching a movie with his school friends, he was also very sad. He was just thinking about his friend's death. That's why he leaves his friends and goes to a basement where some people were taking substances. Jim takes an injection from them for the first time and applies it to himself, and after applying it, Jim's pain and sorrow and everything was over. He had reached a different world. And whenever he comes home, his mom gets very upset seeing his condition. Jim tells his mom, "Leave me. You don't know anything." Now, slowly Jim and his friends started taking substances. This is where Jim's destruction started. First, they used to do it once a week, then 2 days, and then slowly they started feeling that they wanted that addiction all the time. But it required a lot of money for this addiction. That's why at night, when an old woman was going to her house, they steals her purse. Even a friend of Jim hits that old woman a lot. The next day, when they go to the church in the school, the father tells them to come inside. Jim refuses to go and says that today I will not come to the church. But on the father's request, he leaves. And Jim was made to sit in the confession room. Actually, it was a room where, in front of the father, they used to tell him their heart desire, which used to be between the father and that person. Here Jim wanted to tell everything to the father, about his bad deeds, about his substances addiction. But he didn't tell anything. He used to think every day that, today he will take substances which will be the last time. But that day never came that Jim left the substances. Substance addiction had now become his habit, because it is very difficult for a person to leave the habit of anything. One day, Jim was taking substances in the bathroom of the school, where his match coach sees him. Jim was intoxicated. The coach tries to take advantage of him, and he also gives him money. But when Jim came to his senses a little, then he beats him and makes him runs away from there. The next day was Jim's match. He also takes substances before the match. Here one of his friends was stopping him. He says, "Don't do this, man." But they don't listen to him. And leaving him, all 3 friends take the pills of addiction. Now when the match starts, then Jim and his friend who had taken the substances pills, both of them were not in their senses. They lose the match very badly. When the father of the school finds out that all of them take substance, so he brought the police there, and also suspends them for a week. There the coach also removed them from his basketball team. Jim is very angry about this. He tells his father of the school that, "Will you remove me from the school? I'm withdrawing from your school voluntarily." Now Jim's friend who had stopped him from taking substances, he was still in school. But Jim and his other 2 friends were removed from school. When Jim goes to his house, then his mom asks him why you were removed from school. on which he says that we have no fault. We did not take any substances. We have been conspired and removed from school. When Jim's mom shows him the pills of substances, which he had hidden at home. When she asks, "What is this? Is this a vitamin pill?" Jim's mom was very angry about this. And she tells him to get out of my house. Jim also leaves his mom's house in anger. His mom also throws his trophy out of the house. What he won in the match, Jim says to his mom and leaves. That now he will never come back to his house. His mom says, "Don't say that, Jim, improve yourself." Because she loved him very much. She did not want Jim to ruin his life. Now Jim picks up that trophy and puts it in the trash can. When Jim goes to his friends, then he and his friends now needed substances, but they did not have money. That's why they also steal a car. Because substance addiction had become their need now. For them, this was their world. They did not care about the real world. What is happening in the real world? Their habits were getting worse day by day. Now they also want to steal in a store, where Jim's friend, whose name was Mickey, gets a gun, which was fake. But still, he keeps it with him. Jim's other friend was in complete substance addiction. He did not understand what he was doing. Meanwhile, the police come there too. Jim and Mickey try to make their friend conscious. That the police have come to your senses. But he does not come to his senses. That's why both of them leave him there. The police caught that friend. There Jim and Mickey both come to a bar, where they watch the news on TV, in which their school children, who had now been selected to go ahead in the match. They had raised their parents' head with pride. When Jim and Mickey see this news, they become sad. Because once it used to be their dream too. Jim now goes to his mom. But he was secretly looking at his mom. Because he did not have the courage that after making so many mistakes in life, he could face his mom. That's why he comes back to the same place where he used to take substances. Then a man comes there who was hitting Jim a lot, because Jim had given substances to his friend, due to which he was about to die. Jim says to that man that what was my fault in this? Your friend did not digest that substance. But that man hits him a lot, and also drops him down the stairs. Jim's mind had now stopped working. He starts hallucinating in different ways. Sometimes he sees that he is playing basketball, whose net is on fire, but all this was just his imagination. That man, after beating him, dropped him on the snow. Then another man comes here, whose name was Reggie. When Jim did not take substances, then Reggie used to practice basketball with him. He knew that Jim is a very good player. That's why he picks him up and takes him home. When Jim comes to his senses, he wanted to go to Reggie's house. When he checks his coat's pocket, there was no substance in it. Jim says to that man to give me my substances pills. But he says no, I can't let you ruin your life like this. He flushes his substances in the water in front of him. Jim was getting angry at him. He gets out of his control, and tells Reggie that you wasted my substances. Now you will pay me for it. But Reggie catches him and says that you will not go anywhere from here, until you control yourself. He sits in front of his room like a guard. Due to not taking substances, Jim's condition was very bad. But now slowly he was getting normal. When it is morning, then Reggie tells him I am going to my work. You stay here. After Reggie's departure, Jim tries to control himself. But he can't do it. He was seeing the whole world moving once again. He starts looking for money in Reggie's house. But he doesn't get it. So now he goes to a girl from here, who used to be his friend earlier. This girl also used to have substances. Jim now asks her for money, but she doesn't give. Because once she asked for money from Jim, but Jim refused to give. Jim begs her a lot, so that girl now throws the money out of the bag on the ground, and goes away. Jim is very angry at this act of her. He says, I know who you are. You are a bad girl. But she had left from there. Now, Jim picks up the money on the ground, because he was at such a stage, where respect and ego don't matter. But now this money was not enough to taking substances. So Jim does wrong with an old man and takes money, after which he goes to his friend Mickey, and they both go to a man and buy substances from him. But when they test it, that substance was fake. Both of them run and go behind that man, who came running to the roof of a building. When Mickey tries to catch him, that man's leg slips, because of which he fell down and died. When Jim reaches there, he says to Mickey, what have you done? Now no one can save us. You killed him. And when Mickey goes down and checks, then some gang people come and catch him, and hit him a lot. The police also caught him. Even after all this happened, Jim did not understand. He goes back to his mom, and says, please mom, give me money. I am your son, don't do this to me. But his mom does not give him money. because she knew that if she gave him money, then he will take substances. And now his mom did not want this. So that's why she calls the police, because she was thinking that maybe Jim, after staying in jail, will leave the habit of substance addiction. The police come there and catch Jim. He was saying this to his mom. "Please mom, save me, I will improve myself." But his mom does not listen to him. All the crimes that Jim has committed, he is given a 6-month sentence. In these 6 months he also completes his diary that he wrote. And when he came out of jail after 6 months, we see him outside a stage. Actually, he had to read his poetry here, which he had written in his diary. That's when his friend comes there, whom the police caught first. He says, "Jim, I have a very good substance," but Jim says, "No, I have left all this. I do not want to go back to that world. But my friend, take care of yourself." Saying this, he comes to the stage, where he tells everyone his poetry, which everyone likes. Everyone was clapping. In the end, we are told that Jim completed his diary at the age of 17, whose name was the Basketball Diaries, which is also the name of this movie, which was very famous. And for 22 years, 2 novels of Jim Carroll were also published. So this was the story of Jim, which gives us this message, that always walk on the right path in your life and avoid bad deeds. And stay away from the company of bad friends. Before doing every bad thing, or before making any bad thing your habit, think that it also affects your parents' life. If Jim's mom had not called the police that day, then Jim would never have quit substances addiction, and maybe he would have died after a few years. So stay away from every bad habit. With this message, this film story ends here.